me to be perfect. When they don't even know that I'm hurting.
Good evening, everyone. Wow. Good evening. It's great to see a full crowd tonight. Very excited to hear Kintan tonight and to welcome you. So, we had some special food from Yelp, which I hope you enjoyed. Typically, we get beer and pizza. Tonight, we got some nice sandwiches and some nice salad. I want to thank Yelp, our wonderful sponsor, who makes these events possible with their beautiful venue. Thank you. They're going to talk in a minute. I want to quickly introduce myself. I'm S.C. Moadi. I'm the founder of Products That Count. We've been doing these events here at Yelp for a little over 2 years. And while the first year was really rough, for the past year and a half, we've been having a full house pretty much every month. And raise your hand if you've been here before. Yeah, typically like half of our participants have been to a previous event. What makes us really special is that our speakers share something that they have never shared before. It's not like necessarily always an entirely new talk like tonight, but it's a piece of information or a best practice or a case study that they have never shared before. And all of our speakers are all, execs at some of the best companies. So if you're looking for sort of that insider information, Products That Count is a great place to come every month. After every talk, we make our recordings available on our website, productsthatcount.com. Now, I want to give the mic for a few minutes to our awesome sponsor.
I know you all want to start listening to Kintan, so I'm just going to take 1 minute. I'm Satish Mumareddy. I'm a product manager at Yelp, and I work on monetization over here. We actually are doing a lot of cool things at Yelp, from image processing and deep learning to text mining, to summarizing text and actually distributed systems. So we're doing a lot of cool stuff. If you want to find out more about what we are working on, please go to yelp.com/engineering. And then Rebecca is sitting behind the flashy Yelp sign over there. If you're interested in actually talking to her. So Yelp is hiring across the board for product managers, engineers, data scientists, designers. So if you want to work at Yelp, it's an awesome place. And feel free to reach out to Rebecca.
Thank you. And I have a lot of friends who work at Yelp and love working there. So I encourage you to consider it. A couple of things before I introduce Kintan. First of all, many of you know that I just wrote a book which went out a month ago and has been a bestseller on a bunch of lists. Tonight I'll be giving away one copy, and then I'll be selling additional copies in the back after the talk. All the profits are going to charity, just like Products That Count is also a not-for-profit organization. One thing that I learned today is that Mobilize is going to be translated in Chinese. Very excited. Anyway, so that's me and Mobilize. It's a book that I spent 10 years researching while working at Facebook, working at Trulia, working at Nokia, and then that I also spent a lot of time researching by interviewing people like Kintan. So it talks about what are the rules behind the best mobile products. I really encourage you to check it out. Now, also want to introduce Kintan, who has a surprise gift, which is an awesome Amazon tap tonight. I met Kintan a few months ago when he was interested to get more involved in the community. And I have to say, not only is he someone who really knows his stuff, has a ton of best practices, but he's also a great leader. And out of all the speakers that we've had in the last year, he's the most prepared, he's the most thorough, he's the most easy to work with. He kept asking me all these questions like, how's your audience? Who are they? What are they interested in? How do I tailor my talk to make sure that I give them what they want? I was really impressed with that. I think this is really amazing for somebody who probably has a million things to do. Also want to say something about Kintan, which just escaped my mind. Ooh, that's fun. Well, anyways, without further ado, welcome, Kintan.
After the talk. Thank you.
No, actually, I'm sorry. I remember, sorry, it's actually quite important because, I want to make sure that you get a chance to ask questions. So we are testing something new, which is you guys asking questions via Twitter. So if you have questions for him as you go through the talk, please use the hashtag PTCSF. And I think it's on the next slide.
I got it.
Yes, thank you. There you go. So make sure that to get some of our goodies and to ask questions to Kintan, you use that hashtag. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, SC. Let's give it up for SC and the PTC crew of volunteers. So thank you so much for organizing this. So for those of you I haven't met just yet, I got a chance to meet a lot of you. I'm friends with many of you here. So thanks to all my friends for showing up. I'm Kintan. I lead product and engineering program management teams for Amazon's music group. So Amazon Music. Amazon Music is headquartered here, a few blocks from here in Soma. They're a very large team in Howard and Spear, it's their address, so I walked here, just so you know. It's because there was a common question, hey, did you fly out from Seattle here? I said, no, I just walked a few blocks down. I've been at Amazon for a few years, and today's talk is now, as the website, I read on the website, it's the Amazon way. But I want to make sure that we cater the conversation today for this audience and to make sure that we find it valuable. So, to get to know you guys a little more, could I see a show of hands as to how many of you are product managers currently? All right, as expected, now 45, 50%, half of you. Engineers? Awesome. Marketeers? Designers? Terrific. So great group. And hoping that there'll be something for everyone. Let me see a show of hands of those of you who are not in product management but wish to transition to a product management role in the next 6 months or 1 year, whatever. Awesome. Terrific. So I've been fortunate to be involved in shipping over a dozen products at Amazon and many others elsewhere. And the advantage or disadvantage of doing that is that you get to make a lot of mistakes. And I've made my share of mistakes, and hopefully I'll share some perspectives gained through those mistakes with an intent, the sincere intent of not having those repeated, and that thereby will collectively ship better products as a group. Parts of this talk or conversations may sound preachy. Full disclaimer, my sincere intent is far from it. I'm going to share a set of perspective of some of the things that have worked for Amazon and Amazon's perspective, the way Jeff started building Amazon over the last couple of decades, and as we've started building, from retail to digital devices and services, web services, and so on. Some of the things that have worked for Amazon, as I like to say, some of them hopefully will resonate with you, some may not. Mileage may vary. Building products is a highly contextual area and topic. So please take it for its worth. My sincere hope would be to not be preachy, but to share some of the perspectives, things that have worked for us, and hopefully some that'll resonate with you. Quickly, I work on Amazon Music. We have a music streaming service called Prime Music for Prime members, and I've also worked on video, Internet Movie Database, Kindle tablets, Echo, and so on. So that's the plug there. So what will we talk about today? Many of you, or some of you at least in the conversations over pizza and so on, I heard that many of you are familiar with the notion of, Amazon's working backwards approach, or, hey, at Amazon, people write a lot of 6-page documents or press releases. Has anyone, who has heard about or read about Amazon's approach of building products? Good, about 35, 40%. So my intent, and that's what I expected. My intent today is to dive a couple layers deeper, use an actual product, and show some examples of a mock press release or a mock working backwards document written for that product, take you through the process, see some of the FAQs that we wrote for that product, see what was the actual press release that went out on the wire, how did Wall Street Journal or TechCrunch interpreted that press release, and how did it translate itself into the product. We'll use one example of a product to bring you behind the scenes of approach that Amazon has been using, some of the approaches that I've been fortunate to be a part of, and so on. This is more of an interactive conversation, so I like to have questions as and when we are talking, so rather than having you creating a queue of questions, if you have questions, just shout it out, and I'll do my best to answer. No, I'll not talk about my perspective on New York Times or my perspective on some of the products that have not been released just yet. I'll do my best to share perspectives on how to inform a product decision, how to inform product building, team building around product, and so on. Sounds good? So in the most abstract terms, building products at Amazon and at most places, now it's an iterative loop of learning and building. You learn something about a market opportunity or a customer need or so on. You build it, you ship it out, learn more, and it's an iterative approach to building products. Now at Amazon, we relentlessly focus on customers, and I'll talk about what it actually means in terms of actual tactics and things we do in our approach. But the approach we like to describe, our product development approach, is working backwards approach. We start with the customer and work backwards. So instead of bolting customers onto an idea for a product, we start with the customers, work backwards. And we'll talk about mechanisms that are used. Working backwards is essentially a mechanism or a set of tools that focuses on continuous development with an explicit focus on customer needs and customer development. I'll also talk about the role of product manager, since we are talking in context of developing products and building products. We talk about what does the product manager do in context of this iterative learning and building process at Amazon, and how that role evolves and so on. About 25-30 minutes of conversation with Q&A, and hopefully it'll be useful. Any questions before we dive deeper? Awesome. So Amazon, we started out with retail, but working backwards, we as product builders or product managers, we imagine ourselves in hands of our customers, at the doorsteps of our customers, in homes of our customers, and imagining or visualizing ourselves in customers' hands and how a customer would feel while using our products, while touching the products, help us start with the customer's journey, help us start with what we want customers to feel, what we want customers to say, if they were to describe that product or the Amazon customer experience to their friends or to their family, if they are sharing that story with their circle of influence, how would they share? So we try to visualize as well as imagine ourselves, take a leap of faith into future, and suspend disbelief to figure out a disbelief of current constraints in terms of operational constraints or technical constraints or people constraints, and see, hey, rather than optimizing for what we can do today, what's the ideal customer experience for this product or this feature set, and work backwards from there. So starting with the customers and work backwards. Before we dive deeper into this, I'd like to start with an anecdote from my childhood. I was in 4th grade, 9, 10 years old. I was a very, very good student. Good in studies, great grades, teachers loved me, parents loved me for doing homework. I'd be the first to complete the homeworks, do all the extra credit assignments, and so on. So if you had to say, I had best of intentions. As a student, as a 4th grader, loved math, loved reading, loved science, I had best of intentions as a student. The reason I'm using this example is because in my conscious mind, this is the first time that I can recall that I had to make a right trade-off decision. Now, as product leaders or product managers, our day job is to make decisions and trade-offs. So this is the first iteration where I can remember that I had to make some conscious decision. So I want to use this example where, as a good student, my best of intentions were to start to study. But the first decision I had to make was choosing between playing Mario Brothers on my Nintendo console versus doing homework. Now, despite best of intentions, every time when I had to make this decision, whether to do this, whether to learn what fractions mean, or whether to learn complex arithmetic or multiplication, I don't even remember what fourth grade taught in India at that time, versus playing Mario Brothers. Guess what won in that trade-off decision? Any guesses? Mario. Of course. Now, see, this is the student who had best of intentions. I enjoyed studying. I still do. I enjoyed learning. But still, despite the best of intentions, Mario Brothers always won when I had to make that decision, that trade-off decision and so on. So my parents noticed that, hey, did we do a mistake by buying him a Nintendo console and Mario Brothers? So, when they saw this recurring pattern over and over again, that, hey, this problem occurring over and over again, they'll sit me down and tell me to do something or not to do something. And I'll say, yes, I agree, studying is important, I want to get good grades, etc., etc. Guess what? After 2 months, 3 months, Mario Brothers still won in the trade-off decision. No doubt. So the gist of the matter is that just by telling or just by having good intentions, problems are not solved. Now, it happens all the time in business, as well as in life, where, we see something not working over and over again. We see the same pattern occurring. We try to, bring out the team together, sit them in a room, discuss, hey, talk about what not to do, what to do, maybe try something differently, try something harder, simpler, etc. That just doesn't work. It is my strong belief that good intentions do not work. And the reason they do not work is because people already had good intentions. If I were to pull out my iPhone App Store and go to all the apps that have 1-star rating, some of the worst apps on the App Store, and we have to call the PMs responsible for that or the builders responsible for that and ask them about their intentions. They did not start out with the intention of building a 1-star app. Nobody starts out to build a crappy product. And the gist is that good intentions do not work. What else works? And the answer is mechanisms. Mechanisms are a set of tools, and set of tools as well as processes, checks and balances, that can be worked in a very meaningful, durable, scalable way across a large set of people, across people with shared objectives, people without shared objectives, and so on. So Jeff Bezos and Amazon popularized and developed and evolved this approach of a mechanism for building products, which is called working backwards. So now you understand what working backwards is and why. So everyone in any self-respecting PM wants to build the best app out there or the best product out there that's going to do the right thing for the customer, right thing for the business, and so on. But to enforce that and to make sure that there are checks and balances, make sure that the builders or the team responsible for building it takes customers into account, starts with the customers and work backwards. The mechanism we use is working backwards. It's very descriptive, working backwards, start with the customer and work backwards. And it's a set of tools. Primarily, the top 3 tools are a press release, and we'll talk about each of these. A press release, a set of FAQs, and when I say press release, it's a mock press release. It's not the press release that goes out to the wire after the product launch. This is something we write before writing a single line of code, for instance, and visuals. And throughout the product cycle, from the inception of a product to the iterations throughout the product cycle, alpha, beta, shipping it, next version, in that learn and build iteration loop, we use press release. At different times of the product cycle, the press release would first act as a clarifier that, hey, what is it that we are building? Sometimes after the product has been kickstarted and it's working, it'll use as a touchstone, when there are doubts amongst, large sets of people or large teams, say, what is it that we are building? It works as a touchstone or a guiding light, saying that this is what we are building. Oftentimes, it also acts as an audit mechanism for the product leaders or the engineering leaders, where, hey, if a team is getting behind and is spending too much time on building things that are not in the press release, you can just quickly check that, hey, the things you are building are in the press release, are in the FAQs. And if they are not, then it's pretty obvious whether to work on it or not. So that's working backwards. Now we'll step deeper into what a press release looks like. Any questions thus far? Great. Go ahead.
What was the press release for the Fire Phone?
Press release for the Fire Phone, I did not work on it, but it was well intentioned, and it had the things that it included. So question was, what was the press release for Fire Phone? It had well-intentioned things, some of the assumptions. Each large product has a set of assumptions, and some assumptions are true, some assumptions are not true, and we do our best as product leaders, product builders to work it out. Just to use an anecdote, in the year that we launched Fire Phone, Amazon as a company launched 4 products. Kindle Voyager, so e-ink readers called Voyager, a completely revamped new set of very successful e-ink readers. Fire TV and Fire TV Stick, a new way of doing television, 4K video and so on. Amazon Echo, and the Alexa platform, a completely new way of doing home entertainment, and Fire Phone. Now, each of those 4 completely new categories, completely new products, some of them got positive reception from customers, press, market. Some of them didn't. It was a very intentional product. I haven't seen the original press release of Fire Phone, but as I said, in context, many things play an important role in determining the success or failure of a product. And press release is the very first beginning step of the approach of building. If you were to launch a phone, how would it look like? Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned that you revisit this and recreate these documents.
Yeah, sure. So the question was, do we revisit these documents? And what leads to the revisit? And as we look at it, sometimes we build this press release, which is a narrative, FAQs. Oftentimes the triggers are different. When we revisit, we often don't change the press release itself. We'll write more FAQs. As we are doing text scoping and we found out some new dependencies, or as we did some negotiations for content with our partners and found out new information. So we'll put a FAQ around it and describe it. When we are doing version 2, then we'll revisit it and say, hey, now that version 1 is out, version 2 or version .next is out, we'll revisit it then. Make sense? Yes?
Do you have a boilerplate of what needs to go into a press release, or is it just a blank page?
We'll talk about some ideas. I think there are different teams, different business units within Amazon that use different ideas, but the gist is different. The gist is the same. Yes, the question was, do we have a boilerplate for press releases? Or do we have a boilerplate, or is this just blank documents? As we'll talk about it, you'll get a better idea as to what goes in these press releases. What's an example of a press release? So the gist is saying that, hey, start at the customers, work backwards. We're gonna take a leap and imagine how a customer experience would be. Our best intent is that when customers describe this product to their friends, words we want customers to use to describe our product should be wow, if it's a consumer product. Words we want developers to use when describing a new AWS service are fast, etc. Depends on the business unit and so on. And we'll talk about it briefly. Yes, go ahead.
Does the discipline of writing FAQs clarify to the team just how much investment the customer has to make in figuring out how to use it?
Yes. The question was the discipline of writing FAQs. Does that help in clarifying the investment a customer or any stakeholder has to do in attempting to use the product? And the answer is yes. And we'll talk about how it might manifest itself. Go ahead.
Do you also do any research on customers?
Yes. Yes. So the question was, do we do any customer research at this point? The answer is yes, and we'll talk about that in a sec as well. So thank you for asking all these questions. Now, it's a perfect segue into the next section. Before we go into the next section, I want to just introduce the product. Some of you may have heard me at Manifesto. We talked about this. A 2-line description of Autorip. So we'll use Autorip as a product. Autorip is a feature of Amazon Music that was launched in January 2013 and is still going strong. This was a reflection of my CD collection, for instance, in the mid-90s and late 2000s, actually from 90s to 2000s onwards, CD and vinyl, as you can see. There was a simple customer need. Like in late 2000s, we realized that customers who bought physical CDs, customers who bought a CD or a vinyl, but CD in particular, the first thing most customers did was to rip that CD, burn it so that they can take the MP3 version put it on their phone, or on the iPod, or the MP3 player, and so on. So you thought, why not reduce friction so that as soon as a customer buys a physical CD, when I say physical, it's digital is MP3 and physical is actual CD, we just put the digital version or the MP3 version of that song in their library, in their Amazon Music library. We have apps on iPhone and Android and 20 plus different platforms. As soon as you buy, so before the CD arrives in mail or the vinyl arrives in mail, you can start enjoying that song right away. So that was the idea. And we took it one step further and say, hey, what if we could do that for any CD you have ever purchased on Amazon? Most, with some exceptions, but pretty much since 98, Amazon has been selling music. So what if you bought Britney Spears in 2001 and you got that Britney Spears song added to your library for free? So we launched it out. Took a nice nice effort both across the team as well as with licensing, working with labels. Labels is our partners, the music rights owners. Launch it out. This is one of the screenshots. Hey, one fine morning when it launched, January 10th, some people saw, hey, congratulations, you have 2,000 songs, you have 100 songs, and people were elated. So it's a great story that I imagine to begin with. Hey, started with the customer need that, hey, customer observation that we are observing that customers, the first thing customers do after buying a CD was to rip a CD. So why not do it for them, reduce friction? It's a story we imagined, wrote a press release, wrote FAQs, and we'll talk about them. Also, it's a longer-term approach that, hey, by helping create digital libraries, so music libraries in digital format for those customers, we'll get customers to use our apps as well as inform future product decisions. So this is an example of stations where with your physical music collection transferred to your apps. Based on the CDs you bought over the last 10, 15 years, can now do recommendations and personalized recommendations to that station. So it's a good net long-term scenario. Customers loved it, press loved it, customers still love it. We'll talk about it. So approach of writing a press release is very peculiar, like many things at Amazon. And why do I say peculiar? Because it's actually a mock press release. As I said, it's not a press release that goes out in the wire. Now, most companies, most teams do write for large product launches. They do write press release and that's sent out on the wire and so on. This is written before a single line of code is written. And this is written as if it's the target audience is a customer. Target audience is outside of the team. Target audience is somebody who you expect, a customer or a reporter, who you expect to read and learn about your product through there. Typically, it's the tone is obviously a customer-centric narrative. So we don't use any jargons, don't use any any terms that a customer might not know. Imagine you tell the PM team, hey, imagine you are on Oprah and you're explaining your product to Oprah. You're explaining the product on national television. How would you explain? You won't use any jargons or any detailed terms. You want to explain it in as simple terms as possible. And the reason we do it is the product manager who typically is the author of these narrative documents, needs to be able to very clearly articulate who the customer is, what the customer benefit is, what problem it is solving, what would a customer say when they use the product, when they first see the product, and should be able to anticipate and answer questions that a customer might ask. Similarly, with the stakeholders, should be able to anticipate and answer questions that various stakeholders, whether it's the engineering team or your sales team or marketing team or the design team, should be able to anticipate those questions and answer as part of the FAQs. It's typically a 6-page, we enforce a 6-page guideline, and the reason being, we go to, as a practice, whenever a new product or a new process or optimization or feature addition is done, we go with, meetings with all the way to Jeff or otherwise. We sit down in a room, all of us read or pre-read the document and then talk about it. So typically, if a meeting is an hour long, if a press release or a document is 80 pages long, we are not going to be able to do to read through it or make a decision. It's also, brevity helps with clarity. So brevity, we enforce the 6-page limit as much as possible, 6 or fewer. So 6 pages or fewer, but no more. No, 6 pages is press release with FAQs. Sorry. The question was, is it 6 pages for the press release or no, it's 6 pages for the whole doc? Single-spaced. People, I have some interesting PMs in my team who do magic with Microsoft Word or pages with their margins and whatnot. It's typically single-space. Question?
Is it the PM that's writing the press release?
Oftentimes, and more often than not, the question was, is it typically the product manager that writes the press release? More often than not, yes. It's almost always for products or new products, version 2s or product enhancements or process optimizations that we do, product managers are required to write it. But the press release and the working backwards approach is being used across the board. Engineering managers write it, marketing managers write it, HR managers write it. If you're I've seen press releases for large office moves. I've seen press releases for all sorts of things. So, but a product manager is required to write it for a new product or so. That makes yes. You have a question? Does that make sense? A question here? So the question is the press release focused on the MVP or the bigger reason? So let me just take the liberty to expand the question a little more, which is when do you use the press release, and what does the press release cover? Typically, the goal is to not focus the press release on the MVP. MVP is essentially the whole notion of minimum viable product or minimum desirable product or so on is to see, hey, what's the minimum we can launch with right away with the resources we have and so on. And that's essentially to optimize for the best interest of the business or the team. And hey, based on the resources we have, what's the best we can do right now? The goal of the press release is to force the author or force the team to take a longer term approach. Hey, to solve this customer need, what's the best way to solve this customer need? What's the right way of solving this problem? That's in the best interest of the customer. So shift the focus from the interests of the team to the interests of the customer. And then oftentimes as part of the process of writing a press release or writing the working backwards documents, you realize that, hey, to do it right, it's going to take much longer. To do it right is going to take many more people or many more months to do. And then we can peel back from there and say, hey, maybe the long-term vision is this, but we'll arrive at the long-term vision in 18 months. 6 months from now, we'll do this. 3 months from now, we'll do this. But the press release, we start with the vision. That makes sense? Question here?
You guys hear that people describe this process of putting CDs. How did you decide what's
that's all about. So question was for auto rip, the problem of the customer behavior of ripping CDs. Was it a problem or was it a nice to have? Oftentimes customers don't tell or describe something as problems. But as product leaders, when we observe customers over and over again, and we see that there's a repeated set of tasks that a customer is doing, and that can be avoided to reduce friction. The goal here was to reduce friction. Reduce friction, customers do more of it. So the goal was, hey, in this process of enjoying music, how do we reduce friction? So we're reducing friction on multiple accounts. One, as soon as you buy, because there's a large segment of customers who still buy vinyls, customers who still buy CDs and so on. So for that set of customers, how do we get them to, how do we reduce the friction of making a purchase and being able to enjoy the music right away? That was one aspect. And the second aspect was that, hey, customers, what's the first task that most customers do as soon as this comes back? And that was this. So it was a combination. It was not that there was multiple insights going on. All right, go ahead.
How do you when you are in kind of ideation phase, how do you define kind of the boundaries of this? Let's immediately include, let's say, DVDs and movies to that as well.
Of course.
How do you kind of hone it in on a particular?
Yeah. So the question was, how do you define the boundaries and the boundaries or the scope of the project while you're writing a press release and so on? Oftentimes you don't define the boundaries and you see, hey, what is a self-contained large enough problem that has a durable competitive advantage, a durable customer advantage over the long time, over the long period. And here the advantage with just providing it for music itself was solving a complete problem solution. So we decided that way. Now, could we have done it with DVDs? Possibly. But would not doing DVDs, would it have taken value away from this? No. So it's more of a judgment call. And we'll talk about listening posts when we talk about role of a PM. Go ahead. One more question. Yeah.
Do you also consider
Yes. Yes, question was, hey, do you consider internal feedback from internal stakeholders and employees? Yes, of course. Dogfooding, all sorts of things. All right. So I want to spend 30 seconds on this press release. So this is not the entire press release. This is the first paragraph of one of the drafts of the press release that was written as is within Amazon. This is now obviously Amazon confidential and so on. So I had to got permission from the author of this doc and so on. So that couple of lines that I want to really focus on, because they'll hopefully help drive the point home. 2 sentences. So now it has a header, subheader. The 2 points. Customers can start enjoying their music purchases in real time, waiting for CDs to arrive rather than waiting for CDs to arrive in mail without doing anything. As soon as they purchase, they get it. So that's benefit number one, as we were discussing earlier. That the first benefit, it's very clear what we are building, why we are building, what is the clear. There is no contradiction in the value system here. It's very written in plain English, what is the customer value. And the second is that it provides an additional benefit of automatically adding songs or CDs that you purchased in the past from Amazon for free. And each word counts. And by placing these MP3 tracks from purchased CDs into Cloud Player, the name of the app, now it's called Amazon Music, it was called Cloud Player 3 years ago, on customers' behalf. It's a customer-centric language. It very clearly, and it may sound that it's not clear, but I know that it has gone through multiple iterations, so to get to that clarity required multiple iterations. But the customer value of what you're building, there should not be any contradiction there. It's very clear why you're building it, what you're building. When a customer reads, or somebody who doesn't understand the music business or even tech as much, when they read these two sentences, it's pretty obvious what they are getting and why. One of the things that I want to show this one is because it's not shown in the previous slide, but we put emphasis on customers' testimonials. So we write a testimonial in the press release as if a customer would have written it. It's obviously not a real testimonial because the product has not shipped, but it should sound like a real testimonial. So, hey, Shelley Jones, a Prime Music customer or Amazon Music customer, said she's excited, or wow, it's so easy. The reason I showed this screenshot is I did a Twitter search on auto-rip and wow. One of the FAQs was, if you see the common things in each of the tweets is wow. When customers describe this feature, when it was launched, around the time it was launched, we want them to use the word wow. There was actually a FAQ in this, and the team achieved that, so I wanted to just give a shout out to them. But it's important one of the quotes was very similar to something that's listed on this. It's important to notice that and then to follow through. Not just that, but I just did a search last month actually while preparing for this, May 2016. 3 years, more than 3 years after this, customers are still using it. They say, hey, finally bought the Beyonce album and had to buy it. And I'm so glad that I bought it on Amazon because of auto-rip. It's convenient. So these resonates with some of the quotes or customer testimonials that we had written in the original press release. That's why it's important so that it keeps on going. This is how Wall Street Journal described it. The things that we've underlined, some of the words, automatically download digital versions, free. Some of the words that were written many months ago before it was started, they were captured in how it went to the press. TechCrunch, similar things. So that's press release. I'm going to talk briefly about FAQs, frequently asked questions. So when press releases press release is a tool to fuel our imagination, think big. FAQs, or frequently asked questions, is a set of tools to unpack our assumptions. And it's a set of assumptions that we want to unpack for our customers as well as for our stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, it's as a PM, it's your engineering team, your design team, your licensing team, your marketing team, and so on. So common questions, who, when, why, how, all the W's, multiple layers of why and why now are important. You want to make sure that throughout the life cycle of the product, you want to keep on adding more product cycle. You want to keep on adding more and more FAQs as needed, so that as the product cycle evolves, as you learn more about the product, you did a beta with internal employees, and you learn more about the product, you're going to add more FAQs to clarify it, or you're going to ask yourself, hey, how this work, how it might work differently, why does it work this way, how are others doing it, and why this way, why this way versus the other way. Some of the FAQs for the customers. Now, simple, there's no boilerplate, but just for writing FAQs, you just ask, hey, if you were to explain, if a customer were to explain it to their friends, how would they explain it? It's pretty straightforward. Questions for auto-rip would be, hey, how do I get started with this? Or how do I, is it free or do I need to pay? Or does it really work with my old purchases? Does it work in the US? Now, what happens if I gift the CD? What happens if I lose or return the CD? And so on. Does it work in the UK as well? And these were some of the actual questions that were asked on Twitter, through customer support channels, and so on. And it was good, it was very convenient that these questions had been thought through in advance and they were written down many months before, so there were processes in place. You have a question? Okay. Go ahead.
Wouldn't they be the same?
The user, not necessarily. Some of them they'll be same. So help or customer support help or the user manual when you're looking at, there's a subset of these, but there are many more that you want to write beyond the ones that you'll put online. These are some of them will be a subset. But say imagine, so when we're doing auto rip, imagine what the licensing team, if you're on a journey, what the licensing team, the catalog team, they're all thinking about, hey, all these thought bubbles going, how am I going to match CDs to MP3? They all have different asyncs. How am I going to match, how am I going to worry about the latency into the mobile apps? What about licensing? What about the profitability of CDs and so on? So we write internal stakeholder FAQs. Do we need to get new licenses? What changes do we need to make to the existing products? Does search need to change? Browse need to change? So on and so forth. When do we launch it? Why now? How much will it cost to the business? What will it have? What impact will it have on the physical music business? What impact will it have on the digital music business? We're going to talk about all of these things. Lastly, visuals. The high order bit on visuals is that because you're telling a story, you're visualizing what you're building, what the customer is going to see when you launch it. You're going to oftentimes it supplements the business case. You want to do it before the business case. This is to kickstart the business case. But oftentimes it supplements it. The question was, do we create the internal FAQs prior to the business case or after? And answer is it supplements. Typically you create the working backwards first. And then if it makes sense. Often it makes sense to do it, then you'll do the deep dive business case and data flow diagrams for engineering. Because oftentimes you may understand, I've been in many scenarios myself where now created the working backwards document, and in process of creating it, I realized that, you know what, this is not worth building. Imagine if I had realized that halfway through the coding cycle, then thousands or tens of thousands of lines of code would have been written. This is hard, but it helps save time and resources. The key here is that in the very beginning, we don't want to, focus too much energy on like high fidelity mocks. Use whiteboard, Sharpies, newspaper prints, whatever your tool of choice is, because you want to shift the focus from pixel pushing and to actually focusing on what really matters for the customer. Because when you have a like high fidelity mock, like the readers or the authors will try to figure out, hey, what's not working? Let's move that pixel here. Let's change the shade of yellow or so on. Instead, you want to focus on, does this solve the customer need? And that's what we use at this stage. Why write a narrative? Like when you write this large paragraphs and headlines and full sentences with verbs and customer testimonials, there is no way you won't have clarity of thought. And the most important thing in building a product is to have clarity of thought of what you're building, who you are building it for, why are you building it, why now, and so on. Writing is hard, but it's important and it's worth it because narrative helps with clarity of thought. Very quickly, most people will read and provide feedback on more documents or more of these working backwards documents than they'll write. So it's important, I want to call out that it's important to be respectful, but be candid. If it doesn't solve customer problems, ask questions, because we're all in it together. Role of a PM, really quick. Number one job of a PM is to listen. So I may have heard this somewhere, but as product managers, a job is to talk, but we get paid to listen. And this is where I talk about listening posts. Listening posts is a military term, it's essentially something to collect intel from enemy territory or so on. But in product parlance, it's any source of data to help inform your product decision. And we typically use 5 listening posts, everything from customer feedback to multiple channels, whether it's social channels, through customer support channels, through email channels, etc. Usage metrics. If a product is out there, we relentlessly pursue the metrics, study, scuba dive into metrics, study it from all angles. Usability research, ethnographic research, observing users, how they use the product, how they use other products. Competitive benchmarking. When we are talking about customers, competitive benchmarking may sound like a counterintuitive word, but it's important, and we do not obsess over competitors. We obsess over obsess over customers, but we still keep competitors in mind because it's a reflection of what our customers, what the bar or the quality bar other players or other providers have set for our customers. If the next best alternative to our product is providing certain quality of service or certain set of feature sets, we at least know what our customers are used to expecting for that kind of product. So it's important to benchmark. And macro trends in the industry. Hey, are people buying just physical music, or are they going towards CDs, from CDs to MP3s or digital music? Like simple macro trends, but it's important to observe macro trends over years and see in adjacent industries as well, and see how it might inform your product decisions. Again, very important. Go ahead. Question? Yes. Yeah, the question was, is there anything you don't listen to? There's a lot of noise. So, I mean, especially when we do this large-scale beta, Autorip, you can search Autorip on Twitter, you'll probably get, tens of thousands. And how do you mine that? And how do you, it's the Pareto. You want to use the Pareto and the Pareto principle, which is essentially, focus on the recurring trends. If something is not trending, you give lesser priority to that and so on. There's no set rule that I personally use for it. You want to listen to as much info as you can capture as well as process. And then when you do processing, you weed out things. Go ahead.
Follow up to that. So this is obviously not, but it's a famous anecdote of Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Customers don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So how working back approach allows you to come up with products that do not really resonate with me.
Yes. Because the question is, Steve Jobs famously said, customers are not going to tell you what to build. And use a simple example, Autorip. Customers didn't ask us for Autorip. But we are listening, and listening is a broad term, is a loaded term. We're observing in this case, what were customers doing after buying CDs? What were customers doing, what did customers want after buying CDs? What was the first intent? What was the real intent to buy a CD? It was to play music. So the listening is a loaded term, but we're observing customers in that case. So if customers tell you what to build, then it's anyways too late. 5 other people would have built it anyways, or are already building it. This is all about listening from a broader parlance. Does that make sense? Okay. So, go ahead. Question? No?
Do you learn a lot from your competitors, or you?
No, we obsess over customers. Competitors, I wanted to, the question was, do you learn a lot from competitors before building something? The answer is no. We genuinely, I've shipped over a dozen products at Amazon, most consumer focused. Genuinely start at the customers and customers' needs and start working backwards from there. But in the process, when we write a FAQ or so, we'll see, okay, what's the customer expectation here? And in some cases, the customer expectation would have been set by competitors. If a product exists in that category, then we need to know what's the next best alternative. So it's from that perspective. All right. So very important to know, what tools to use and what not to use. Which of these 5 to use? Let me quickly show this. Oops. So for Autorip, for instance, we didn't use all of the 5 after launching, but in the first 90 days we were laser focused on customer feedback as well as usage metrics and usage numbers. And we saw that usage was off the charts. Pretty much, who doesn't like free stuff? People were just super pleased with what they were getting. And then the feedback was that, hey, can I get it for vinyls as well? It was very straightforward feedback. The number one feedback was, hey, I love it. Can I get it for vinyls as well, from a music parlance? So April, we heard that feedback. We knew which tool to use. Launch vinyl. Try to minimize the delta between thought and action. When you know something's working, when you know the customers are asking for something, and you can deliver on it, try your best to do it as fast as possible. So to complete the story with Autorip, it's here. We launched it in other countries and other locales and marketplaces and so on. It's the same, again, to support vinyl records, and so on. That's my prepared set of remarks. Do you have any other questions besides that? Go ahead.
Does Amazon ever break away from that?
The question was, does Amazon break away from the working backwards methodology? Broader, in grand scheme of things, no. But I'm sure it's a large company, so many teams. I tend to not break away in my teams. This is my perspective of Amazon's approach to building products. Working backwards, if done right, is extremely hard. Writing is very hard. Writing good, clear documents is hard. But it saves a ton of work through the product cycle if done right. So we try not to break away. Yes, go ahead, question.
Going even further upstream for ideation.
Yes.
Do all of the Amazon come from sort of PMs or some the process?
Yeah. So the question was at Amazon, where do ideas come from at Amazon? The answer to that would be ideas come from all over the place. Now that's the textbook answer, but it genuinely comes from all over the place. Oftentimes, product managers and sometimes engineering manager, for instance, acts as a product manager. Say, hey, I have this great idea to do this optimization on AWS. By the way, in AWS, instead of visuals, PMs write code snippets. Hey, what code snippets do we want developers to use? So they'll write some mock code snippets. Say, hey, it used to take 50 lines, now it takes 2 lines to do something, things like those. Ideas come from all over. PM or the product manager or the author of the working backwards document is the guardian or is the champion of getting that through. Make sense?
Well, one more question, and then there's
One
a
more
couple
question.
from Twitter as well that I want to ask you.
Oh, yeah. Let's ask Twitter first. Let's do.
All right. So one question is about the product vision. Like, what's the process for vision at Amazon?
Product vision, again, the question is, what's the process for generating product vision? There is no one set process, there is an approach. And the approach for vision is a customer-centric and a data-centric approach. And that parallels very well with this learn, build, iterative approach. So we work backwards from, we observe when we have data or when we have an idea or so on, we force, rather than forcing the customer on an idea. If there is a new idea, we'll stop thinking about the idea first and go research about the customers, see what customers need, what are the pain points today, what are the opportunities, how are things working, can it be done in a much better way, in a different way, in a unique way, can we add value to customers, and then work backwards from there to translate that into a service or a product, or a vision for a service or a product.
Related to that, do you do postmortems for your
Yes, there was
launches
a
and
Twitter
products?
question. Yes, thanks for asking that. The question was, do we do postmortems? Yes. Now, most teams use agile processes. We do retrospectives after every sprint. For large products, Autorip had a retrospective. Autorip Vinyl had a retrospective, and we talk about what worked, what didn't work, how it might work differently. Some of the questions from the retrospectives get translated into the FAQs for V2 or V3 or VNext of that product and so on.
One more question, which is the role of designers in the product development process.
Role of designers, even engineering managers, depending on the product, consumer-facing products, the role of designers is super critical. Designers work very closely with product managers, at least by design, that's how we've structured, especially to help with the visuals and so on. As I said, the mechanism is designed in a way where we want to make sure that we paint the picture, imagine what a customer might visualize, help visualize what a customer might see and when the product is launched. So designers play a very critical role. The mock-ups drawn on whiteboards and with Sharpies get translated into wireframes on Illustrator or so on, then into high-fidelity mocks in InVision or Pixate and so on. So designers play a very critical partnership role.
And then one last question, and after that we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Question more technical, like how does Alexa learn related to machine learning and things like that?
Oh, great. That's like a setup. Have you guys seen Alexa? Who is familiar with Echo? Alexa is a platform that powers Echo, voice platform. This is Tap. We have 3 types of Echo devices. There's a stationary device, there's a portable Echo device, we call it Amazon Tap, and then there is a smaller version which is Dot. So let's just ask this. I work on music, so my team's responsible for the Amazon Music experience, so I'll show off a bit. Play music.
Here's a Prime station you might like, the Glitch Mob.
So you guys got the idea. So I asked it, play music. It knows that, hey, this is me asking play music, and it suggested me a station, because I listen to a lot of stations and so on, and I'm into EDM these days. Glitch Mob is obviously in EDM. So it created it suggested a station for EDM for me, which is a Glitch Mob station. The way it learns, it's like a combination of gazillion algorithms that learns. For music, it learns based on my listening patterns. based on my preferences and so on. If you were to ask weather, there is not a lot of learning. It's just what's your zip code and what's the weather, it pulls the service. So it depends on what you ask it. But for music, it's an ongoing service. Folks interested in working on how it learns and helping inform, please see me. Or we have a few folks from Amazon actually. I see Khan, Jeff.
Stand up if you work at
Please
Amazon.
raise your hands. If you have questions like this, how something at Amazon works, or how is it to work at Khan leads growth for Amazon Music. Jeff leads all things recruiting. So feel free to reach out to them if you have questions on how things work at Amazon or how you can work at Amazon. Sorry, didn't mean to cop out there. The learning is an iteration of multiple inputs. We try to personalize it as much as possible based on the data we have.
Awesome. Kintan, that was phenomenal.
You have one question?
Okay, one last question.
How about somebody in the back? We haven't taken a question there. Yeah. I use an example of a consumer product because we're using Autorip, and I've personally worked more on consumer product. The question was, hey, does working backwards work on business to business or business to developer kind of products? And the answer is absolutely yes. As I said, I was alluding earlier on, AWS, Amazon Web Services, uses working backwards very religiously. Instead of a mock, they'll write a data flow diagram, for instance. Instead of a visual Sharpie drawn mock-up, they'll write a code snippet, as I said. But it works really well, especially in AWS. It works really well because some of the problem set in some cases is very well defined, and that you can see long-term in future. With that, actually, I'd like to give you a tab so you can try it out yourself. It's just randomly picked, and that's a question I like a lot. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty easy to reach out. Thank you so much for taking the time. Again, some of the things that have worked for us, mileage may vary and will vary. So thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Kintan. That was awesome. All right. We're a little bit over time, so I'm going to move right away into the next section, which is the shout-outs. So, yeah. Oh, wait, I forgot that. I have one of my books that I want to give away. So I'm going to give it away to the first person who gives a shout out. So shout outs are, opportunities for you guys to share what you're working on. So you have, 10 seconds to talk about hiring, or a job that you're seeking, or a startup you're launching, or, some project that you have. So if you want to give a shout out, please line up here. And the first person to give that will win a copy of my book. And then we have two other books from O'Reilly Media, and they will go this way as well. All right, let's start right away.
I'll be quick. Hi, my name is Bart. I'm from the Netherlands. I have experience in market research and social media marketing. That's my specialization. I did it for a project in a global consumer goods company and in a startup in business intelligence here. In 2 months, I'm graduating in my master's in global marketing, and I'm determined to stay in the US. So if you have a startup and you have a challenge and you think I might be able to help you solve it, feel free to get in touch, and thank you very much.
Are you leaving? I can walk here. Come here.
Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm the co-founder of a startup called Shelfie. Shelfie is a free mobile app. Shelfie is a free mobile app where you take a picture of your bookshelf, and we've developed technology to recognize 40 million book spines. And we've also made deals with the publishing industry to allow you to download the ebook or audiobook copies of your paper library for free. And in fact, this book is one of the books that is available through Shelfie. So if you pick a copy up tonight, you can download Shelfie, and then you can get the ebook and the audiobook copies as well. So
there must be some elements of
FAQ.
Hey everybody, my name is David, and I started a company called Elevai. They call us the Snapchat for recruiting. So if you're looking for a job, or if you're willing to be a brave beta tester, then please reach out to me after we finish. Thank you.
All right, you get our third gift. All right, now please pass the mic directly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter. I am the marketing director for a small startup based in Santa Clara called Talent Seer. We're basically a matchmaking service for companies and their ideal candidates. And we also offer a way for people to sign up on our platform to refer great candidates and get paid while doing it. So if you guys are interested in chatting with me about it, I'll stick around. I'm also looking to hire for some iOS developers for some of our companies that we're working with. So that's me.
Hey guys, my name is Jan. I'm the founder of Zasmic. We have a large offshore list of engineers in Ukraine. So if you need some help scaling your startup, reach out to me. Again, Zasmic. Here we go.
Hey guys, I'm Bhavdeep Dulay. I'm an aspiring product manager. I have a product called Song Genie. It's an iOS application. It's kind of akin to Alexa Tap, but no hardware required. So please check it out. And I have my card at the end of the table, so if you would love to connect. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? Hi, everybody. My name is Bruno. I work at Moto. If you haven't heard of us, your teacher friends or your kids and nephews and nieces definitely did. This is a plug for hiring. We're hiring talented people all over, especially design. So I'm looking at the 1 to 4th row here. I think 5 designers. Okay, so find me.
I'm also at Edmodo. My name is Ben. I'm a product analyst there. We're looking to hire another product-focused data analyst. It's actually called data analyst, but you're mostly working with product. 65 million users, so big data sets. We truly have a double bottom line, so it's a great place to work. So product manager or designer, talk to Bruno, or product analyst, talk to me.
Hi, my name is Melanie. I help run the Startup Leadership Program here in San Francisco, and we're currently building our next class. So if you're building a new business and you're interested in joining a global community of entrepreneurs, please find me.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Marco. I made like 10,000 kilometers to come here because I'm from Italy. And my startup is giving forecast for growers, fruit growers, so they know well in advance what will be the final production. I think that our algorithms can work in every place where they are producing fruit. So eat more fruit, please. Thank you.
How's it going? My name is Brady Acton. I'm a second-year student at Stanford. So last month I developed a smart cap for pill bottles that only allow for single-person entry. And the big problem we're going after is kids breaking into medicine cabinets of their parents. And every year, 1 million kids will break in and become addicted or go on to heroin or pass away. And I'm working with a congressman right now, Pat Meehan, and we're working to get a bill passed where all pharmacies have to give out this certain pill bottle cap. So what we're looking for now is really mentors in the pharmaceutical and healthcare sector. We raised money. We already raised our angel round. We're working with Ben Franklin Technology Partners for Series A, and we're really just looking for mentors. And that's it.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Baron. I'm a product manager at Rev, wearing the T-shirt. We are a marketplace for at-home freelancers. We are a growth stage startup, and we're looking to hire an associate product manager. So if you're interested, please find me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I'm an enterprise product manager with a few years of experience. I've worked on some very successful SaaS applications, and I'm now available. If you're interested in looking for someone, you don't have time to do these awesome Amazon tactics, you can contact me. My last name is SHUTTA to find on LinkedIn, and I'll be hanging around for about another 15 or 20 minutes, so come find me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm from Brazil, and I'm thinking about starting an e-commerce company. So if you have experience on that, I would love to talk to you. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Mary, and I'm the founder of a fashion startup, and right now I'm looking for beta testers, primarily women. So if there's anybody interested in doing that, if you can see me. Thanks.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you. Okay, last thing before we do a little bit more networking, and if I can have your attention in the back just for a minute. Hey, guys. Shh. Just for a minute. I want to tell you a couple of things. One is we take feedback super seriously. So after every event, we send you a very quick survey. It's in your inbox right now. Please take just 1 minute and tell us how we did. It's super helpful for us. It's super helpful for Kintan. We measure the net promoter score of every one of our events, and it's very important for us. So please take just that 1 minute to do that. Our next speaker is the head of growth at Slack, Mercy Grace, and she's going to talk about onboarding experiences, July 27. I announced this talk in our newsletter this morning. All the early bird tickets are already gone. This has not happened before. So if you want to go, I really encourage you to get your ticket now. There's a 20-minute more networking. Enjoy. Please make sure that you help us close the door at 9 and keep Yale clean. Thank you very much.